Engage.
EnergyHog.org, that's it!
Brought to you by the Alliance to Save Energy, the Department of Energy, and the Ad Council.
And what I think is creepy and Orwellian is David Axelrod, who lies for a living, by the way, getting up on Stephanopoulos' show and saying Fox is not a news organization and you guys should not treat it as such. Trying to bully other news organizations into not dealing with Fox.
Well, that's not. You're right on that, because they are obviously a very, very credible news organization. They're the most watched news there is. They got some great programming, but I mean, their programming tends to be just a bunch of Bible banging, God loving conservatives.
Well, I don't know that about the religious part, but their prime
come
time
on. Watch Sean Hannity's show if you don't know that about the religious part.
Watch Sean Hannity.
That's what. Okay, but Hannity does an opinion show at night. I mean, that's what it is. It's a news and opinion show. I've done a lot of shows like that. And I know what they are.
Hey, Tuck,
that's not what he said. He said, this is not a news organization, and you shouldn't be involved in it. Now, when Ari Fleischer got up after 9/11 and said, famously, you need to be careful what you say, the press court jumped, as it should have, jumped down his throat and said, you're trying to bully us into producing a certain kind of news, and that's wrong. Well, that's exactly what the Obama people.
Well, Axelrod is the equivalent to Karl Rove, and Karl Rove said things that are just equally as infuriating.
Karl Rove is the worst ever,
and
Tucker.
Karl Rove took a huge amount of crap for it.
He should have.
And so should Axelrod should too.
Rove should be in jail right now.
But he hasn't. But reporters have just sort of nodded their heads and said, well, yeah, I guess that's right.
Shouldn't Rove be in jail right now?
Because they're butt boys. They're servants of the administration.
Karl Rove is the worst ever. He's the most evil man ever to live in our country, Karl Rove is, period. End of conversation. Don't even think about arguing.
I like Karl Rove. He was my neighbor.
Yeah, imagine that.
And I've told you this before. Karl Rove gave out and gives out more Halloween candy than anybody in North Carolina.
Because he wants to be known as the good guy in the neighborhood.
What's the number one way? Who's the easiest people to dupe in the world? Kids. So the kids go back.
Yeah,
they tell
I know, but the upshot is... He loads my kids' candy bags up to the brim.
I got the former president. President Bush, what do you want?
I was wrong. It's not just Snickers. It's Tootsie Pops. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Butterfingers, Mounds bars. How many people give Mounds bars on Halloween? Not very many.
Alvin Joy.
Why do you think he was able to dupe our president? Mr. President, why do you like Karl Rove so much?
Well, I'd have some questions about this Iraq thing. Wasn't going too good, but he'd bring in a big bucket of Snickers and Kit Kats, Twix, a peanut butter Twix. You ever had a peanut butter Twix?
Oh, no.
I forgot all about that Iraq war after that. Yum.
Yeah, Karl Rove can do what he wants at all times, man. I bet he didn't give Bill Clinton's. I bet he didn't give Chelsea those kind of treats when she came trick-or-treating.
No, but if he had, I bet you that Clinton would have loved him, because you always love people who give your kids candy, especially when it doesn't have razor blades in it. It's just
exactly.
Conventional candy in the package.
So, Tucker, let me ask you a question with some of my questions. What do you think about, how disgusted are you of the coverage that Balloon Boy got? By the way, he even has a name too, Brent. Balloon Boy. We've wrapped it up.
I missed it. I was actually on a plane all that day, so I didn't see the coverage. I only read about it. It's totally typical. I mean, I would say everyone's all mad at cable news and it's so low. I hosted a show once that was preempted for a rainstorm in California. Look, so you know the truth. You're in broadcasting. Anytime you can put the breaking news bug on the screen, you're going to get
Yeah, and if there actually had been a kid in there, I mean, that would have been a fantastic story.
You had to cover it, but, we got duped. And, Tucker, I can't help it that your show sucks so bad that they preempted it for a rainstorm. My show...
Look, but here's what people don't understand. Radio is different from television in this one way, and it's a major way. Television is about pictures. It's a visual medium. If you have great pictures... And I'm not a very visual person, so I kind of don't get this, but this is the truth. If you have great pictures, you run them, regardless of their meaning.
Well, but if you have good stories, if you're a good storyteller and a BSer like me, then you can do good in radio. And as a radio host, if you really got swagger like me, you determine what your show gets preempted by. They don't tell you.
Yeah, but the thing is, radio is so different in that you don't have pictures to rely on. You have to be a good storyteller. You have to be a good talker. It's all about words. It's all about painting pictures in people's imaginations with your words.
So would you agree that if you could, it's harder to, it's probably harder to maintain and be successful in radio than it is TV because you don't have the tools in radio that you have in TV?
I think that's exactly right. I mean, sure, of course. I mean, look, I could get a 35 share, okay, in television if you gave me compelling pictures. I mean, if I had pictures of someone being executed, or if I had pictures of Bill Clinton coming out of a hotel room with a 19-year-old girl, or whatever.
Or a beheading or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would not need to say a word. Or I could just open up and say, ladies and gentlemen, watch this tape. And I would get huge numbers. Radio, you can't do that. You've got to make it up yourself. You know, it's all about you. So it's a very, very different medium.
So, I mean, were you disgusted at this balloon boy coverage?
I was, you know what? I've been in the business too long. I guess I wasn't disgusted. My feeling about cable news is that's kind of what it's for. If you really want to know what's going on in the world, you read the paper. Cable news can add to your understanding of it, but it's not a great medium for conveying facts.
I mean, should they throw the book at this dad? I mean, you know, reality television is what created this monster.
He's like a wife beater too. Supposedly, I read that I don't know that he's a wife beater, and I'm not saying that he is a wife beater, but the accusation is that the 911 was called a couple times, and you know that there's a flaky family situation going on there. So,
well, I don't know if his wife is allowed to speak for herself. I don't know if there's any kid touching going on. I don't know of any of that, but I mean, there's a lot of glaring discrepancies here with this guy and his swag.
You know, it's so weird though because it's like a specifically American disease, this like desperate desire to be famous, really for anything.
Well, it's because reality television has created any Tom, Dick, and Harry can now be, you know, Kate and John plus 8. I mean, you know, you can just be a couple white trash asswipes living in California with 8 kids, and now all of a sudden you're a superstar.
I think that's right, but for really no good reason. So there's something depressing about people who want above all to be famous, who want to be recognized. I mean, there's something very sad, hollow, and empty about that, don't you think? I mean, you want to be famous for things that are worth being famous for. You know, I did something great, or I entertained people, or I am a great storyteller, or I cured cancer, or I won an important battle. I mean, the idea of being famous just for being famous' sake is so depressing.
Yeah,
I only want to be famous so that I can be rich.
Fame should be the byproduct of what you do, not.
Yeah,
shouldn't be the focus of why you're doing it.
I would rather be rich than famous.
All day.
You know, but most people would rather be famous than rich. I would rather be rich than famous. You know, my job happens.
Well, I've never understood why being famous is such a good thing. So people can like bother you on airplanes?
Attention is like a drug. It's more addictive than heroin.
I told my wife in bed a few nights ago, and I think that everybody in this room would probably agree, and I hope that nobody takes this the wrong way, but if I could make the same living I am doing, you know, that I make here on the radio without having to be in the public spotlight, I would sign up for it for a minute. Manson, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Oh my God, I would have to be, live under this.
But that's because you've been in the public spotlight and you know that it's a mixed blessing. I mean, you get a better table in restaurants. There's no question about that. You can always get a reservation, but the downside is real too. But most people haven't had that experience, so they don't really know, and they imagine, oh, that would be so great if people recognized me. Wow, or people were impressed. I don't really see the benefit of it at all.
And the downside to me, hey, I don't mind being recognized, but the downside to me is this current lawsuit that I'm going through, that is just really driving me insane, and I just cannot, for the life of me, this would never be happening to me had I not, be who I am. Other than that, let me ask you a question. This is probably something that you definitely will have an answer on. Other than the standard Republican versus Democrat, I hate you, you hate me, you're the bad guy, pro wrestling type mentality that goes on. Why do people, and I haven't really, I think she comes across kind of bitchy, even though, why do people hate Nancy Pelosi so much? It seems like there's so much hatred for her. What do we not know?
Well, I think all you need to know is contained in any of her TV appearances. Watch Nancy Pelosi, and you'll see Nancy Pelosi is a true believer, unlike most members of Congress who aren't very ideological. They just kind of, they're partisan. My team is better than your team, but they're not truly like religious believers in the ideology of their party. Nancy Pelosi is. Nancy Pelosi is a hater.